say every man must fall, yet I swear I see my reflection someplace so high above the wall. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be relieved. Hey there friends, how's it going? This is David Potts with Song Notes, and today I'm going to show you how to play I Shall Be Released by Bob Dylan. And I'm going to model this one after the Bob Dylan Outtake version from 1971. So for the most part, this is a 4-chord song, right? You can play it with these 4 chords. I'll show you some alternate voicings though, right? For the A minor, you can use this A minor 7. We have this version of the B minor, which is a nice non-barred version. And I'll show you how to use this sort of D7 voicing to capture a little bit of Dylan's flavor there, right? I'll show you a few different fills you can play. I'll show you a few different strumming options you can use based on your mood that day whenever you're playing this. And then I'll show you a few different ways you can tackle the progression too, because Dylan is kind of his recording is a bit loose, you know. Sometimes he's playing this chord, other times it sounds like he's playing that chord. There's also 2 guitars, so there's a bit of room for making it your own. And I'll show you how to do that while still sounding like Dylan's version, all right? So let's get into this one and learn I Shall Be Released, capo 2nd fret, and let's zoom on in and look at this one. All right, let's go. So first up, let's look at the intro to this song. I'll show you a fun way it sounds just like Dylan, and here's the easiest way I think you can play this one, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off on 3rd fret of the 2nd and 4th strings. Then we're going to go to 2nd fret of those same strings, and then 1st fret of those same strings. Okay? And then you're going to add this open high E string and then go down to a G. Okay, now let's look at that little walk down. The way to think of it is you want to basically pick 2 fingers. I'm using my middle and ring finger on the 4th string and 2nd string, 3rd fret. Whatever fingers you use, those 2 fingers are going to sort of be moving between 3rd to 2nd fret to 1st fret. Super quick aside, had to share, this image just came out from the Prince Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix. What chord is he playing? That's not a real chord, yada, yada, yada. But I think we all know the answer now, as he is playing Bob Dylan, I Shall Be Released. All right, back to it. So get comfortable with these 2 fingers, whatever you do. You could technically bar, right? You could use 1 finger, you could use your ring finger. Gets a bit tricky with the capo right there, so I don't really recommend that. I say either use your index finger or use middle and ring. And then what you're gonna do, I'm gonna silence the strings there. See the X in my tab, right? So 4th string, 2nd string, silent strings. Do it again, let it ring out, right? 2nd, silence, let it ring. 1st, silence, let it ring. Sneak in that open E string and then put your left ring finger down there for the G. Then you're gonna freely strum from that G to this C over G. You could call this a G sus as well, and come back to it. But really quick, that first part again, those X's mean you really want to silence those strings. If you don't silence them, you can either use your right hand to do it, or you can just relax your fretting hand. You want to sort of depress from the fretboard, so you're not pushing down into it, but keep contact with the strings. And the idea is you want to kill all the sound. If you play at full speed, it sounds like this. They say every man must have. Okay, the last portion there, again, we're on our G here, but we're using this G sus. And what that means is we want to use our left ring finger down here, 3rd fret of the low E string, mute the 5th string with this same finger. I'm just lightly touching the 5th string. That way, if I strum all 6 strings, the 5th string doesn't make a sound. And then you want to bring these 2 fingers in, add them, right, where they would go for a C major, and then take them back away for your G. So you want to kind of play this freely, meaning use whatever strum you want. You could just do, right? And then afterwards, little walk down, 2nd fret, to open on the 5th string, and then back to that low 3rd fret of the low E string for your G. And that last G note is going to be the first note of the first line of the song. Okay? So we'll talk about how to play the song in a second, but the intro one more time. Say every man knows that. All right, so that's how you do the intro. And now let's look at the chords we're going to need to play this entire song. Okay, so the 4 chords, big picture, we're going to need are our G major chord, our A minor chord, open, second, second, first, open. And then we need our B minor. This would be the trickiest one to play because it's a bar chord, 2nd, 4th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, okay? I'm going to show you an alternative to this in a second. You could, of course, just do the thinnest 4 strings if you want to make it a little bit easier and not do any barring there, okay? And we'll need a C major as well. So those are the chords we're going to use, and then that can basically, you can play the entire progression with that, right? For example, right? 2 measures of G, right? I see my light, then A minor comes shining, A minor again, then B minor for 1 measure, from the west up to C, then back to G, 2, 3, 4. Whole song is played like this, right? Any day now, A minor. Any day now, B minor. Then to C, and back to G. Yeah. Do, 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 do. Okay, so at the very simplest, you could use those 4 chords, follow that progression, add whatever strumming you want, and you'll be in good shape. Now, I'm going to show you a few different chord options here, and then I'll get into strumming after that. Now, a few quick, let's cover the other chords really quick. Okay, for the A minor, the easiest way to sort of add some spice to this one is to play in A minor 7. Just take off your ring finger from that 3rd string, right? So it's open 2nd, open 1st, open. And you can even go between these while you're strumming the A minor, right? Just adding and removing that left ring finger can add a nice little spice to that chord. The one I really like, though, is this B minor. This is a B minor 7, technically. What we're going to do here is play the middle 4 strings only. 2nd, open, 2nd, 3rd, okay? This is a nice version of B minor because you don't need to do the bar. So I find it's just easier to switch to. You can kind of keep your forearm up here. You don't need to enter the sort of bar chord, elbow position thing, which I'm not really a fan of a lot of the time. But this one gives you that B bass note, right? You do have the B minor 7 because of this A, but it still works really well for this song. Just try to avoid that thinnest string if you can. If you do play it, leave it open, but I tend to ignore it for the most part. And then later on, we're going to use this D7, right? Open, 2nd, 1st, open. Okay, it's kind of like an A minor, but you just take off the note off the 4th string, open, 2nd, 1st, open. We'll cover that one a bit later though, okay? So those are the only chords we need. Let's look at some strumming really quick here, just to show you some basic stuff we can do with this one. If you want to do a sort of folk, kind of a folk rock strum, you could do this down, 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 up, down, 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 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. If you go through this progression using that pattern, you would get this. I'm going to kind of keep it nice and light with the strumming. That's my overall advice with everything I'm going to show you with all these strumming patterns that are coming up in the next minute or two. Keep them light. You don't have to strum all the strings super hard all the time. You can do feathery strums, light and brushy strums, only strum some of the strings. But with this one, it's going to sound like this, right? So G, I see my life come shining from the west down to the east. Okay, I'll do it one more time here, right? G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, D minor, then to C, then back to G, okay? That's a nice sort of full strum you can do. Okay. Now, what I like to do with this song is use some bass note strumming. Okay. The idea of bass note strumming is you want to pluck the bass note of whatever chord you're on, then do a full strum, right? So the simplest way you could do this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. This is a really easy going one, right? I'll show you some ways you can spice this up, but it's a nice way to sort of get in the feel with things, right? So let me sing one line. They say every man must need protection. minor. They say every man must fall. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea there, right? But let me show you two different ways you can spice this up. One is to do this bass, bass, down, down, a 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 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 okay. On the 1 and the 2 count, I'm just plucking the bass note, maybe the bass 1 or 2 strings of whatever chord I'm on. On the 3 count is when I kind of do my loudest strum, right? It's almost like the 1 and the 2 count are winding up a toy. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And on 3 count is when the jack pops out of the box, so to speak. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? If you did that, it would sound like this. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. I think I messed up there. Let's do that again, right? G, 2, 3, 4, G, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, B, to C, then back to G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's a nice one you can do. A similar one is going to be this bass down, bass up down, a 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 bass down, bass up down, up. Okay. The trick with all these two bass note strumming patterns I showed you is on the non-bass note strums. Again, just keep it light and brushy. I'm kind of favoring the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. That's my sort of sweet spot. Every now and then I'll venture to the thinnest string, right? Maybe every now and then I'll do a full strum. But you don't want to do full strums all the time. That's too much. You want to be a bit understated with that one, okay? So let's do one more partial playthrough of that. So let me get it primed for you again, right? Bass down, bass up down, a bass down, bass up down, a bass down, bass up down. 1, 2, ready, go. They say every man must need protection. They say every man must fall. I'm gonna do one more line because it's so much fun. Yet I swear I see my reflection someplace so high above the wall. Alright, so that's some strumming options for you there. Check out the link in my description of this video. I have some strumming breakdowns of both those patterns, and I show you a few different chord progressions using those patterns and with tabs and a printable PDF if you want to follow, right? I basically want to show you these strumming patterns zoomed in and carefully with different context. If you really want to master them, I have so many strumming videos on my website, so check out those links. But let's move on next to some of the flourish we can add, okay? So when I say flourish, what I'm talking about are these little fills and licks you can do, okay? Now Bob Dylan's version, it sounds like there's 2 guitars being used, so that has the benefit of one of the guitars can be rhythm and the other one can do the fills. If you're playing by yourself, you need to do the rhythm yourself, but you can sneak in these fills. So there's 2 I want to show you here, okay? The first one is just going from this G to this, you can either call this a G sus or a C over G. And the idea is if you use your left ring finger down here on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then you mute the 5th string. I'm just going to lean my ring finger into the 5th string, put our pinky down here. You can put these 2 fingers down almost as if you're playing a C major chord, right? But then take them off and go back to your G. Now, the way this progression works, like I told you, is you start with 2 measures of G, and then you end with 2 measures of G. So basically, you have 4 measures of G in a row, and that last measure or 2 in particular, there's no real singing right there. So that's when you want to do the fills during that last measure. So for example, let me play you a line of the song, and during the last 2 measures, I'm going to do that, right? So that could be down here next to me in this lonely crowd. He's a man who swears he's not to blame. All day long I hear him cry so loud, calling out that he's been framed. I see my life. Okay, so you saw what I did right there. In that last measure of each line, or the G, I just added in this sort of C over G, or this G sus, whatever you want to call it. Keep your groove. You don't want to lose your tempo, right? But it's okay if you deviate from the strumming pattern a little bit, but just try to keep the feel of your overall main counts, okay? The other little lick and fill you can do is, okay, it's going to be on the G again, and it's going to go like this. Okay, it's a little bit trickier because it involves picking individual strings. Okay, what's going to happen here is we're going from this regular G, do the same thing where your left ring is on the low E string, and what we're going to want to do is target that third string, third fret, right? If the capo is 0, then 1, 2, 3, third fret, third string with our pinky. Okay, and what you want to do at first is go between the third fret of the third string and then the open second string. And it's going to sound harsh. If you play those together, it's extremely dissonant, right? Because these are a half step apart. If I did fourth fret on the third string, that's the same note as the open second string. But when we go a half step away, ooh, it's really, really dissonant. But what this does is it's kind of mixing the major and the minor together, right? So we're going third fret to open second string, third fret, third string, again to open second string, and then with our left middle finger, second fret, third string to open second string. Okay? That sounds a bit more normal because this note and this note are both in the G major scale, and then we go back to our open third string, which is our G, right? That's our tonic, so it's going to sound nice and good. Now, in context, it's going to sound like this. I'm just going to play a G. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do it again. Okay, you can't really strum it necessarily as easily. I find that if you do strum it, it doesn't sound as great because you're mixing these at the same time. You almost want them played offset, you know? Okay? All right, and a couple little more nitpicky bits here, right, for the nitpicky among you, if you're keeping on watching here. I want to show you the chord progression, but I'm going to show you how Dylan plays it and then my preferred version of how to play it. And this is where I'm returning to what I said earlier in the lesson, where Dylan's version, it's a bit loose, it's a bit, I don't want to say sloppy, but it kind of, it's not like you can hear every guitar strum super cleanly, right? And that's okay. It just adds to this kind of liquid, bluesy vibe to it and everything, right? So that's why I'm going to show you a few different versions of this chord progression. Now, they're mostly the same. There's just one or two, there's one measure, that C measure, where things get tricky. So what I showed you earlier is this G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A minor. This is what Dylan's playing for sure, right? Then B minor. Now this C, I don't think Dylan's playing the C, actually. I'm going to explain this in a second. But I do recommend it. If you're just getting started, this is a great way to play it. It's a nice sort of familiar chord to use. I think it works well with the sort of vocal tonalities of the melody. And then you go back to that C, okay? And if you look at the bass notes of these chords, right, we have our G, G, to A minor, B minor, to C, then back to G, okay? Now, if we look at our notes in this G major scale, or our chords in the key of G major, we're gonna see that this is just walking up the G major scale, from G to A to B to C. That's why I like using the C major there, as you're getting that walk up. Right? This is the 1, 2, 3, 4th notes, the first 4 notes of the G major scale. And then we go back to the G, and then cleanse our palette before we go on, okay? So that's what I recommend doing, and if you want to learn more about the major scale, the chords in each key, I have a practical music theory course. It's over at songnotes.net. The link is in the description here if you want to learn that, okay? Now, let's look at how Bob Dylan plays this, I believe. It starts off the same, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, nothing new here, nothing new with the B minor. But for this next chord, it sounds like he is using a D bass note, right? I think these are the 3 strings you really hear. Open, open first, and then maybe this high E string. So it's kind of like a C, but it has just, you know, you're kind of getting rid of these 2 notes, and you have a D bass note there. Whatever you want to call this chord. You could call it a D, you call it a G with a D bass note, sus4, because you're adding this right here instead of instead of the regular major third and the chord of G. But don't worry about what you call it. But this is how Dylan plays it. Here's how it would sound in my best estimation, right? They say every man must need protection. They say every man must fall. La-di-ba-ba-dee-da-da-ba-da. I'll do it again since I body-bop my way into this. Da-da-da-dee-da. Okay, so I just want to call that out. I think that's how Dylan's playing it. I don't like to play it that way. I'm going to be totally honest. You lose out on that clean C bass note, right? So what I'm going to show you here is this version, and this next version on the screen right now, this captures what the band, the band who covers this song, their version uses this in the third to last measure, okay? They're having this move from the 4th to the 5th chord in whatever key we're in. So if we're in the key of G, our 4 chord is a C, our 5 is a D. So we're going to sound like this, right? I see my life come shining. I'm using this A minor 7. You could use a regular A minor if you want. From the west down to the east. So what I'm doing there is in that measure, I'm doing a C, 2, 3, 4, G. Then I go to a G. For the D, I'm doing a D7, but I'm not playing the thinnest string, okay? So that sounds like this, and this is my preferred way to play it, right? So, they say everything can be replaced. They say every distance is not near. So I remember every face of every man who put me here. Let me do the chorus. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be relieved. Okay, so I just did 4 playthroughs of this progression here. Same G as always, using this A minor 7, going to this B minor 7, and then from the C to the D7. And then, here's a cool part, is you can just keep this left index finger planted. Okay, C, D, and then back to G. Okay, and if you're doing these bass note strums, right, bass, down, up, bass, down, up, then back to the G. C, ready, go. C, D, G, 2, 3, 4, C, D, G. Okay, this is what I really like doing. Again, you hear that dramatic 4th to 5th walk up in the band version, right? Now, of course, you could use your own chords, right? Da 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 da. A minor, right? Then B minor. They say every man must fall. Right? You could do those bar chords on the C and D. I don't like that as much because it just sounds too clean and happy and cheery. Dylan's version has a little bit of that muddy spice to it, which I really like there. Okay, so that's how the chord progressions you might want to keep in mind for this one. Again, these are all in my song sheet here. One last thing I want to show you is just a vocal melody for the beginning of the verse in case it's helpful for you. Here's a simple version of it tabbed out, right? Right? That's, if you sung that part, they say every man must need affection, protection, whatever. Then the next part, right? They say every man must fall. Da 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 da. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba. If you want to practice your singing, you can use that tab as a sort of trainer, right? So that's what you're going to need for the vocal melody notes for that first line, if it's helpful for you. Again, I included it just as a primer to get you started, yeah, just that first line is included in my song sheet as well as the chord progressions and everything else. Let me show you this really quick while I have you here. 3-page song sheet for this one. Page 1 gives you the lyrics for everything, a little bit of cheat sheet for the chords and strumming, and some of the fills. Page 2 is going to show you chord diagrams I have written up, little licks and fills, strumming stuff, and then page 3 has the chord progressions. Okay, so this is available for a separate purchase. It's licensed and so it's copyright friendly and everything. Dylan gets, he's a songwriter, so him or his estate or however that works these days gets the credits, right? That's available for a separate sale. Now, if you're a member at my site, you get access to a 50% discount code you can use when you buy this song sheet. And then you also get access to all my instructional PDFs, my instructional cheat sheets. These are not the song sheets. The song sheets are separate purchase, but the instructional PDFs, all the cheat sheets, right? My practical music theory course, that's included with this, all the cheat sheets, all that stuff, all the extended videos, those are all available for you if you're a member at my website, songnotes.net. So check that out for all the details, y'all. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, my friends, take care, and bye-bye.